Should we do the... Oh.
You have to talk into the mic, otherwise it doesn't work.
Well, hello there. Welcome to On the Beat, the podcast that uncovers full frontal male nudity in cinema. We are, sadly, on our last episode of Spooky Penis Month, but I am so happy to be here with my co-host, Ryan.
Hello.
And our special guest, Tighe.
Hey, still the man about town.
That's true. That's true. I appreciate so much that you texted me on a regular basis, making sure that you were going to be on this episode.
Yeah, I felt like I bothered you a little, but I have to talk about Warlock too when given a chance.
Speaking of Warlock, we're talking about Warlock the Armageddon.
Oh, Jesus.
The 1993 supernatural horror film.
It was a terrible segue. That was awful. that was horrific.
Keep it in.
Well, no, I will, because
Okay, thank you.
we haven't got another option.
Warlock the Armageddon.
Yes.
Here we
Yes.
are.
In short, yeah, we will be calling it Warlock 2, though. I'm not saying the Armageddon every single time.
Well, it's just Warlock. It could be just Warlock.
But there's already a film called Warlock.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, so...
Just call it the Deuce.
Like,
No,
if
yeah, let's just say Warlock too.
there was
Well, like
a
Hot
penis...
Shots Part 2. Yeah.
If there was a penis in Warlock, then I would be able to talk about Richard E.
No
Grant
shit.
for 1,000 hours.
That's a whole spinoff.
Yeah.
Oh, the Richard E. Grant podcast?
Oh, Red Fern. Fucking
Yeah.
love Red Fern.
Love Red Fern.
Yeah, Red Fern.
That is what this movie is missing. Even though this movie's basically perfect, it's missing Redfern.
Yeah.
100%.
Miss him a lot. But I also miss, speaking of, Julian Sands. R.I.P. again. Talk about Julian Sands so much. I feel like we're creating this hub of Julian Sands fans. Julian Sands fans
Yeah,
in Orlando.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird effigy to Julian Sands. I think it's the effigy he did not expect, nor his family. They would just stumble upon this podcast and they would hear all of the Sands magic that we spout every
Sands
week.
Man.
I mean, I would put hard money that if you just gathered up 100 random people, and especially if you showed them like a picture, they would be like, oh yeah, that guy. I would say he falls in that like narrow window of distinguished British actor who's also like character actor.
Yeah.
Without being just like gruff British guy. I think he's semi-ubiquitous in the limited sexy British thespian. Yeah.
I love hearing people, when I was watching through the special features on our collector's edition Blu-ray set of Warlock, everyone talking about how sexy Julian Sands is, and I never really thought about it, even though my first introduction to him was really through Room with a View, and he is the sexy guy, the love interest in that film, so it's, I don't know, I just never thought of him
he pops
that
up
way.
also in films that you don't expect him to. He's in Ocean's 11 for about 5 minutes. Yes.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
He's the inventor of the supercomputer.
Yep.
Oh no, it's Ocean's. Is it Ocean's?
No, I thought it was 13.
It's Ocean's 13.
It's
Yeah,
13
the
when
Al
it pops
Pacino
up.
one, where
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
like, whoa, I need a big computer. And Julian and Julian Sands provides him with said computer.
Of course he does.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's industry slang for Julian Sands. Big
pretty
computer.
much big computer. I mean, or if you refer to him as the Warlock, he's the rudest that ever troubled daylight, as they said in that first movie. Yeah.
You said you liked Richard E. Grant's accent as well.
I did, yeah. I didn't really have too many problems with
Yeah, he
it.
went for
I
the
did
rogue.
think, though, that maybe he could have been more Scottish.
Ooh,
Like, could have referred to the Warlock as one bad bastard, you know?
Yeah, but he's too, with God, like too Christian.
He's really rolling his R's in that first movie.
he
Yeah.
does. He says it somewhere. I think a special feature of the comment. No, it must have been a special feature. Yeah, he says like, I think I'm gonna go with a bit of a brogue on this one.
He really he really rolls it. Like,
Yeah.
he's all over the place with it. But, I mean, I
sells it, though.
think it's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, for what it is. I mean, Sean Connery was considered for the role. And I feel like that's too much.
Maybe that's why. Yeah. Maybe that's why it's like an homage.
Potentially.
Actually, weirdly, I heard they wanted him. They'd both seen the producer and director had both seen With Nail and I, And they loved him already. And they were like, we got to get that guy. So they convinced the studio to fly him out and do like 3 or 4 days of casting in London.
Wow.
And they knew they were going to basically cast him. But they were like, all right, well, we just got to see a bunch of other people while we're there to do the due diligence. And one of those people they happened to see, Julian Sands. So in their like going through the motions to get Richard E. Grant, they discovered Julian Sands.
What a fucking treasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is one of those.
Absolutely.
Julian Sands is another one of those guys that pops up and I scream. Julian! Mm-hmm. Like when Brad Dourif shows up.
Yep.
Every time Brad shows up, I'm like, it's Brad!
I mean, he strikes me the way people speak about him, that he is like a joy to work with. Like whatever you're doing, like the quality of the film, whatever you're doing, like people speak of him so highly. He's like the kind of guy that you could call and be like, hey, you want to show up for 2 days and be in Ocean's 13? He'd be like, delighted, you know? Like,
yeah.
He seems like just like an affable guy that's like, yeah, if I'm not doing anything, let's hang out. What do you mean to be? Big computer? Great, I'm big computer, you know?
I heard he was quite method. I know the director said it, and I think Paula Marshall, who plays Samantha in this film, in Warlock, the Armageddon, said, yeah, he wasn't a ton of fun when we were shooting just because he was very much in character. I'm like very much in the Warlock character.
He's playing a bad dude. That's what he is. Yeah, he's playing a bad man.
Everyone said he's so lovely. He's so lovely. Speaking of people being lovely, also Chris Young is in this film, and he is a picture of the 1990s.
Oh my God!
With the 1990s hair, and he has such a familiar face. And of course, I had to research, and I'm like, oh, he was in the Max Headroom series when that was on TV. So he was like the boy genius from that show, and I think he's great.
Well, this is now a proper time in which you can bring up Max Headroom without it feeling like it's been shoehorned in.
You did it, yeah.
Thank you.
There you go. You only had to wait a wee bit. That's all you had to do.
But you did it. You got there.
I finally got there.
Yes.
I got to talk about it. And
if I could go a night without hearing Max Headroom, honestly.
But you know what I love him from is The Great Outdoors. He's the older brother in The Great Outdoors, that John Candy movie, which I love, absolutely love. And yeah, he's the older brother in it. And he's like, it's only a couple of years difference, and he's just like, he's still that 90s kid.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That movie's great.
Yeah, the movie's excellent.
So this film was directed by, I'm so sad, everyone's dead. R.I.P. Anthony Hickox. Anthony Hickox.
Anthony Hitchcocks.
It looks harder to say than it is.
Poisoner. Yeah,
it's not that hard to say,
Hickox.
but it looks difficult.
I think it's Hickox.
Hickox.
Yeah,
Hickox.
Hickox.
Yeah, Hickox.
Anthony
Hickox. Yeah.
So, I have some notes about Anthony, but I'm not going to step on Rydog's toes.
Oh, please don't. Yeah.
You know what? Actually, let me just throw out the synopsis and the tagline, and then I'll hand it back over to you to tell us about Tony.
Great.
Okay? Every 600 years, a great evil has the opportunity to escape and unleash Armageddon. A group of 5 stones has the power to either free the evil or banish it for another 600 years. An order of druids battles with a warlock determined to unleash his father upon the world. This thing says 5 stones, but there are 6. That was from Letterboxd, and I did not mistype that.
And they were called the
he has
druids.
to find 5 more. You know what I mean? Like maybe that was the confusion. Whoever was writing it. But yes, it is 6 stones. He just starts
6
with 1 because it's the one he's
total.
born with. Yeah.
The tagline is, when he comes, all hell breaks loose.
Oh, shit. Fuck. Yeah, freaking
Daddy
the sheets.
Satan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you give your son a kiss?
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh my
kinda
god, I love
fucked.
this movie. Okay,
Yeah.
tell us about Anthony.
So, Anthony Hickox, English film director, producer, actor, and screenwriter. And as we mentioned, he died this October in 2023. I think it's like maybe about a week ago, if that.
It is exactly 1 week ago today.
Oh, shit.
As
That's
of the
fucked.
recording of this episode, October 9th.
I will say, though, he's got a relatively quite distinguished career. There'll be plenty of things in here that we'll have seen, and I'll kind of note some here. So, Waxwork from 1988, Sundown, The Vampire in Retreat from 1989, obviously Waxwork 2, Lost in Time in 1992, Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth from 1992, which is probably one of the only, I think the only other good sequel I think there's only 3 good sequels to the Hellraiser franchise, because I went and did a sit down and watched all of them.
Bless your heart.
And they're fucking horrific.
I did
some
more
of
of
them
a
are
nap time with all of the rest of those Hellraiser movies.
They're really,
I slept so hard.
They're
That's
really
why
bad.
I knew it. There's no way I was just like,
I
how does she legitimately watch all of these and
This guy
and
did.
like
He
them?
even went
I
back.
did,
Yeah, no.
yeah.
He woke up from his nap and then rewound it.
Oof. I haven't done a watch in like, I'm going to say 10
Yeah.
years or whatever, but I remember being like, wow, I thought a lot of these held up a lot more.
No.
They're not garbage. It's just like they're a lesser version of the one before it, and it's just that keeps going down.
The very modern
steady.
ones are awful. It's very much is a very good example of how you take a really good, interesting franchise with a massive backstory and completely fluff it, like completely fuck it up. But I do like Hellraiser 3 because it has the guy that shoots audio CDs out of his head.
Oh, yeah.
And also there's the cameraman Cenobite as well. So
Oh, yeah, him.
you know,
yeah,
there
he's
is
pretty
there is
great.
that stuff. There is the good one that comes after that I think that's the one that's also set in like 3 different time zones, and one of them's in space. And whenever you take horror to space, I think
Wait, is that
that's
the
always a good. That's
Adam
always
Scott
a good thing.
one? The one that has Adam Scott in it?
Yes, I
Yes,
think
it
it
is.
is.
It
Yeah,
is.
that's the one.
Pretty
that-
sure.
I do like that one. The other
Yeah.
ones I can't really
There's like
recommend.
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, they're not good.
It's hard to be a
diminishing
fan.
returns is the definition of diminishing returns.
But 92 is a good year for him, so is 93, because then we have Full Eclipse, and then we have, obviously, Warlock, Armageddon.
Hooray!
After that, kind of few notable exceptions. You have Payback in 95, Invasion of Privacy in 96, Prince Valiant in 97, Stormcatcher in 99, Jill Rips in 2000, Contaminated Man in 2000, Last Run 2001. It goes on for quite a while, up until about like 2019, which is kind of when he made his last film. And the only one to kind of note is a Steven Seagal movie called Submerged in 2005. But yeah, I guess we kind of go into, you know, the story of Tony. But yeah, obviously there's 2 separate people in the Warlock universe who played the Warlock. Obviously Julian Sands, who made it his own, and then after that in 3 we had Bruce Payne, who played the Warlock. But then, you know, we talk about like the original. The original was directed by Steve Miner, and Steve Miner's got, again, a relatively quite distinguished career. He directed Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3. He also did Halloween H2O, but he did a personal favorite of mine, Lake Placid,
Yeah!
which is a really good one.
The last time I watched Lake Placid was a really long time ago, probably 20 years ago, and I was on mushrooms.
I loved watching that movie because it is so short. It's only like 78 minutes or something.
It's so good.
And it's just a good monster movie. And unfortunately for Warlock 3, which I can't even remember its subtitle. What is it? It's like Children of the Damned or something, whatever the fuck it's called.
It's Children of something.
Children of Innocence or whatever. Cradle of Innocence.
I'll look.
Anyway, that was directed by Eric Freiser, and he didn't really do anything else.
The End
a
of
real shame.
Innocence.
Oh.
What was that? Oh no, that was Return to Innocence. That 90s like.
Then there's that Scorsese picture, Age of Innocence, which is different. So
I don't know. This film looks great, and it's also on that Blu-ray set. I'm gonna watch it.
Oof. You mean you're gonna sleep through half?
it doesn't look good. No, it doesn't look good. So I don't know. I watched Warlock for the first time all the way through today because I'd only ever seen it in parts.
The first one?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, it was my. But that's just something.
I was also surprised. I think it's just because I tend to put on things, you know, when he's at work
Totally, yeah.
and
And
then I tell him all about it after.
It was a weird one because I used to watch kind of weird, strange things. I had friends in college who had kind of slightly, varied tastes in film, and that's how I got to see Krull all the way through. I got to see Willow all the way through, and I got to see Meet the Feebles all the way through.
Oh, nice.
These are good films.
But then, obviously, with Warlock, I've only kind of seen it in parts. It's hard to tell like which one is my favorite. I do think Warlock and Warlock 2 kind of sit side by side relatively quite well. I might like Warlock 2 a little bit more, just because it's a little sillier.
We're gonna find out.
But then there's no red fern in the second one,
know.
so
that's the biggest ding.
which is the really like I really wanted like an ancient hero to turn up with a Scots accent and a salty whip, like I really did.
Salty.
Who used the weather
on
vane
that
as
whip.
like a spear,
Yeah.
But yes, it was a waste. But the only other thing I did like about the opening of Warlock is it starts with a cat getting put in a box.
In the OG Warlock?
In the OG Warlock,
Yes,
it does, yeah. And then you
That's
find
how
out
fast things leave my brain.
Well, no,
It
happens
I'm
really
left
quickly.
with feelings of
it
love.
happens so fast, and it's like the beginning of the movie. But then you find out later that they're going to burn the Warlock. I think it's over
cats.
a living cats.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because that's like the only way to kill the Warlock in
Yes.
that particular film.
Pretty
is
much, yes.
burn him over a box of kittens.
Yes.
Yeah, Jesus, it's monstrous.
There's some horrible shit. Okay, I'm going to talk about when he flies later, because I do want to bring up, like, the fat of a unbaptized child.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to save it for later.
The flying is one of the best, and also probably one of the worst looking kind of effects in the entire movie. But I love it for how kind of silly it looks.
Well, Steve Miner, just not to quote the behind the scenes, but he was like, 2 years later, we would have done the flying all different. He's like, the only thing when I watch the movie now that I absolutely hate is the flying. He's like, it's great for what it is at the time. He's like, but it was on that cusp of being able to do that really easy digitally. So like a year and a half, 2 years after it came out, it just looked crazy dated. But at the time, it was like, yeah, this is good. But then it just like immediately was like, oh shit, what do we do?
Would they have done what they ended up doing in Warlock, the Armageddon? Because it looks fucking insane in this one.
Well, they kind of
still perfect.
They'd kind of I can't remember the Chinese directors. They made a bunch of martial arts movies, but they used a lot of wire work and stuff. Yes, I think it is.
Yeah, Shaw Brothers.
They perfected the wire work to the point where it wouldn't be picked up on camera like whatsoever. Which is also something I think in that original Warlock you don't see very much. There's a really good shot with the flying, which I think is great, where he does like a kind of reverse 180 and then he lands on his feet in the graveyard, and I'm like, you know what, that's actually very effective. Awesome. It's just this stuff that's obviously he's rotoscoped against the blue screen, and then they make it smaller as if he's going away from you.
Trying to give like this increasing perspective.
It's like, and it's the same in the second film as well, where you're just like, oh Jesus, like it's ropey, but I also appreciate it, because if it was too realistic, you'd be like, well. That's not really.
I think of that movie as sort of like when you see like really good stop motion. It was like that was like the peak it ever got at like guy flying done with like wires and a cable. You know what I mean? Not martial arts, but like flying.
Yes,
you know what
actual
I mean?
flying.
Like after like you said, like shortly after that, all that stuff just went digital. So it's like you're watching like a craft like give its last hurrah.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. Which I think is a real shame, because there's obviously stuff in Warlock 2 quite specifically where it's the advent of obviously 3D effects coming into film and stuff like that. I mean, Jurassic Park comes out this year, but it's nowhere near that. They have trouble rendering a knife in this movie effectively, which is a real shame.
No, it's not. It's perfect. Everything that flies, the stones, the knives,
the baseball.
I do like that final scene where it's like, no, it's your knife. No, it's your knife. No, it's your knife.
Whoop, wrong way around.
No, that's your knife. So yeah, I do like that stuff, because it's obviously played a little bit more for laughs. But
before we get away from it, I do want to talk about Anthony Hickox a little, just for a moment more, because he's from like this film royalty family, which I didn't know about until today. But his father was Douglas Hickox, who directed Theater of Blood.
Okay.
From 1973, the Vincent Price.
Yep.
Treasure, and his mom was Anne V. Coates, who won an Oscar because she was the editor of Lawrence of Arabia.
That's it.
Wow. Okay.
She did a bunch of other things. Tons.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I mean, very much sealing up. It's the who you know that gets you into the industry, I suppose.
Absolutely. So this film, although it is a sequel to OG Warlock, is like, it's almost like the next, like another story of Warlock. Like what else could have been? Because it's not even necessarily a sequel.
Yeah.
So it's like not even a spiritual sequel. I don't even know. Like, it's only in name is it a sequel, even though you have the same main character kind of trying to do the same thing, but through different means.
Yeah, I mean, they don't allude to the first movie in any way. That's what I think
No.
made me say that. Like, he does come back from the dead, but I guess they don't even say that he's dead. He's just
born.
birthed. Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
original one starts off in, like, what, 1693 or something.
It's like 1640 or something.
Yeah.
And then it's, 600 years later, but then that doesn't...
No, it's like 300 years later.
Yeah, 300 years.
It's different on everything. It's like, for this one, it's like they're talking about 600 years, right? And I'm like, but it's not been that long since the first one.
They had to bring him back somehow, and pretty much they just bring in... Because there's not really druids or stones or any of this sort of stuff in the original, the first one.
No.
And there's also, there's a major lack of spell casting and stuff like that in the second one. He kind of comes in fully suited up in Warlock 2. He's already flying. He's already doing certain things. He has his flesh map.
Well,
he's...
at that point, he's fully supernatural. In the first one, he's just a guy.
He's
just a guy who got some power, and he's, you know what I mean? Like, he knows the spells and the tricks. The second one, he's just like fully a supernatural being.
He is.
So I don't
He's
think
like
he has
the
to
son of Satan in this.
Yeah,
one.
yeah. He doesn't have to like render fat or do this or that. He just does what he kind of wants.
Yeah. So
No
he's
longer does he have to gather the pages of the Grand Grimoire.
Yes, exactly.
He must gather the 6 runes.
Yeah, which I think the rune thing happens every 500 or 600 years or whatever, but like it wasn't always the warlock who was trying to assemble them. I think it could have just been anyone.
a creature from hell.
Yeah, this time it was just the warlock that
Like,
got
it
set.
could have been Thanos.
In theory.
Either way, it could have been Thanos. Thank you
6
for
stones!
bringing the Marvel universe into this bullshit.
Here comes the cease and desist.
So
Max Headroom.
we will say, well,
Seinfeld.
the one thing I do like about this is that you see the druids in their time when we're at the druids at Stonehenge at the beginning of the movie, and then they're thwarted by the, let's just quote unquote, evil forces, and then we jump forward, obviously 600 something years to the future druids who are all wearing tucked in like kind of silky shirts, and they kind of go around with like their mobile phone like attachment to their belt and stuff, and they're wearing their velour, like everything's like nice druids, future druids.
I was going to call them like Republican dad druids. That's what they look like. They look like everyone's dad.
Yeah, but they vibed me as like liberal California dads.
Yeah.
They're like reading books and like hanging out and stuff.
Reading books.
Yeah. Drinking a fuck ton of coffee and never sleeping. By the way, just real fast, do you notice how none of the druids ever sleep? You've never seen, like, it'll be like, oh, they just drink coffee at night, and then the morning will happen, and the kid will be like, hey, I'm off to this. They're like, cool, we're going to work on this. They never go to bed. Sorry.
Maybe that's the thing about the druids. Maybe they don't need to go to sleep. Maybe they're not tired.
They might not. I mean, they do have spells and trinkets and things. Like, they have that glittery sage drink that brings people back from the dead and heals their wounds. But
Disney cocktail.
The Disney cocktail.
Disney cocktail.
Glittery Disney cocktail.
They're the only guys that do any magic.
Fair point. Yeah,
The druids.
Yeah.
They got that little pin with the black candle and the leaf that makes them spew up green blood.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't like them. I just thought it was very, very interesting.
Yeah,
certainly,
dads.
certainly the main dude, the main druid, who's like known for playing like the police chief in other things. I thought was his no nonsense druid odyssey that's going on. I thought was pretty inspired.
Yeah, quick shout out to the casting people on this. Like all the druid people, no, for real, those are some solid like older middle-aged character actor guys. Like working actors, but they're like, show me the best working actors who are 50 to 55 or whatever. Well, like, those were the dudes, and they're great. You're like, that guy, holy shit, that guy. You know what I mean? I mean, they're all druids.
Well, I think I've brought this up before where I'm like, I don't know if we have that anymore, like in the 2020s. Like, I feel like that certain demographic is just not...
100%.
It's not the same.
The character actor, to me, today, is like doesn't exist. I think they get
Yeah.
celebrated up to a level of like Nick Cage, like esoteric sort of like weird pocket universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they just ride it out on like series, but like there's no sense of like it's too easy to find out who anyone is in a movie, so there's no like, hey, that guy I saw in
Yeah.
a movie, because it's so easy to find out who they are and then like follow them on social media or whatever. So like that like mid-tier working actor, character actor thing is like a weird sort of disappearing thing.
Yeah. It's like they're either too small that you don't recognize them, but they're also incredibly young, or they're so well known that they've just gotten older. So they're
Yeah.
always going to be in that lead role regardless. I feel like it's a lost talent pool that I'm kind of disappointed in.
I think most of those character actors that I can think of now are women. Like
Yeah,
that
probably.
kind of age
Yeah.
group of character actors is like Margot Martindale, Anne Dowd. Like these are these,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
in their maybe 50s, or I don't know if they're in their 60s, but these women that I'm like, they're in everything. I see them all the time. Character actors, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
But men, off the top of my head, I can't.
Now, but man,
Yeah.
you know, speaking of Matt Frewer, you know who was great for like a hot period of time? Steve Berko.
Tell me more about Steve. I can't picture him in my mind's eye.
Oh, but you can. Like 98 to 2003, he was in everything. He was like handsome, funny guy. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't say indie darling, but like low budget, sort of like, oh my God, you're looking him up and you don't recognize him?
How do you spell his name?
I recognize the name.
Yeah.
I just want to be.
I think it's Bierko.
What film's he in?
Look, hold on.
I need.
This guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
He looks like
film's
he would
in?
be like in a Mountain Dew commercial.
Oh my God. Let's see what it lists him as. 13th Floor. Okay, Long Kiss Goodnight.
All right.
Scary Movie 4. He was in Cinderella Man? What?
How do you
That's-
spell his name? Because now people that are listening to it are.
Bierko, which I think is what I said.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, he was in Kane Leopold in the commercial. Sex in the City, Ally McBeal. I'm telling you. So for me, Fear and Loathing, he's Lacerda. He's the photographer that's on their assignment when they're in the desert.
Oh, right.
That's, yeah.
I remember that.
God, what's that one he did? He did a movie with the guy from Wings.
Oh, it's Craig Berko.
Yeah, isn't that what I said?
No,
you said Steve.
Said Steve.
Oh, whoops. It's Craig Bierko, sorry.
Right. Okay. Hold on.
Well, that one's on me.
Single white female.
Oh, I see what. Yeah.
guy from Wings, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I know what. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Anthony Hickox said that this is a masterpiece, but then immediately after said, not one of my proudest moments, but it does have some fun stuff in it. A very self-deprecating look into Warlock the Armageddon by the director, which is one of my favorite commentaries that we have available to us. It's a top-tier commentary.
Yeah, at least he's able to at least he's funny. At least he saw the funny side of the stuff he was making. So,
It's
I
up
mean,
there
from
with
his with his filmography as it is, I think he would have to have had a lot of fun with what he was making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's like pretty much up there with the commentary, the John Borman's commentary for Zardoz.
Yeah.
God.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He's slightly more serious, like to the point where it's
What was
slightly
the commentary?
nauseating.
Was it for Conan the Barbarian?
Yeah, that's slightly different though. That's like
Also very great commentary.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very
Yeah.
fun.
Oh man, speaking of Schwarzenegger, oh my God, the commentary for that's him and Paul Verhoeven for my God, get your
Total
ass to Mark,
Recall.
Total Recall.
yeah.
It is just two men with very thick accents talking, and they're so excited, and they're just like yammering back and forth to each other, and there's thick accents, and it's so cute.
That sounds like
You're
my
just
dream.
like, oh my God, this is so adorable.
Those are two of
having to
my favorite
focus
boys.
I'm surprised you haven't heard it yet.
We have that.
It's so good.
that 4K.
Yeah, it's on the 4K.
Like they're just kind of gassing each other up, and it's very fun.
Well, that's probably better than the John Milius like Schwarzenegger commentary. I mean, Schwarzenegger is just reciting what he's watching.
Yeah,
Like,
he's like calling the play-by-play, and you're like,
Yeah.
How about an
what I
anecdote?
do here.
Yeah, it's looking for like a
head, I hit with the axe, and then I do this, I get on the horse. You know, and then John Milius is just like, like the entire time. Just like, so we were doing this thing.
They're so cute.
You know who's great on a commentary? Robert Englund.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, he even says it once, or I think it's even on a Freddy versus Jason commentary that he's like, in these dulcet tones you're listening to are me, Robert Englund. And it's just like, holy shit. It's like, is this a coffee commercial? Like, you don't realize how smooth that man is when you're just listening to him talk in his real voice.
It's like, stop turning me on.
I think
Robert.
he lived or used to live in Claremont. He had an address in Central Florida for many years.
Adorable.
Yeah.
Adorable. The first type of things that I started writing down for this film is right before the dick scene.
Well,
I don't know if anyone wants to talk about anything before the dick scene, but I pretty much am writing about the Eclipse and her flippity dip onto the dining room table.
The only thing that I would say in the opening is that two things. One of those druids, I'm sure, is David Crosby. Watch that opening thing again. I am sure that like they were filming in like Griffith Park one night. David Crosby was just like on a 2 a.m. walk, and he's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" They're like, "Oh, we're making Warlock 2." He's like, "That's fun. Can I be in it?" And they're like, "Sure, you're a druid, David." And he's just in there. There's a guy that I swear to God is David Crosby in that opening. But also, what are those weird linen opening credit things? Like in the way they place them in the moment, the peak of the momentum of the action where you would never cut, it stops and it just arrests all momentum for a while. And I'm just like, what is this?
It's like the beginning of like Law and Order or something.
Yeah.
Like pre-credit sequence.
But the choices, the places in which they're making it do them feel very strange and like...
Yeah.
I think the director said,
I
keep bringing up the
know.
commentary, but I think he said, oh, these horrible opening credits.
Oh, so yeah, maybe they were forced
what
on
he
him.
said.
Oh, yeah, or maybe he just made a decision. He's like, yeah, that didn't work out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they're great, but I don't dislike it. You know, I do think that, like, I don't know how much time it took, but the stills that they stop on are incredibly uninspired to be.
That's what I mean.
On.
They're the choices they're making and where they stop are just like, huh?
One of the druids is the
like
director
extra,
as well,
yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, God, it can't be Crosby.
Extra 06 on horse.
Yeah.
Pause. That's it. It's like, okay, right. Clive. Look a little bit more emotional, Clive. He looked like one of the guys, like when it freezes, and I don't know who it is, but it freezes, and it's like he is just intently concentrating on the fact that he does not want to fall off that horse. He looks terrified.
Yeah. Fuck.
They all look they look terrified. Horses are very scary.
Yeah.
That's what people say.
Yeah, they are scary. You don't have to ride them. And they kick you in the fucking head.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I don't need to get on a horse. I've been on a horse, so I'm good forever.
I also have been on a horse. Yeah.
Tighe, have you been on a horse?
I've never been on a horse.
Oh, shit.
I
See?
said, hey, man, you got to get back up on that horse, but it was more of a metaphorical horse, I believe.
Yeah, fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
Cool. I mean, we actually got on a horse.
Yeah, I know. You're cooler than me, for sure.
I guess.
No one's
Yeah.
debating that.
With a helmet and stuff.
Oh, that's less cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
You put on a horse
raw
riding
dogged
helmet.
that horse.
You what?
Sure you
What?
Oh, cool. Anyway. Supposedly Satanists read X-Men. Did we cover that?
No.
We did not.
So, like, he's, like, what's his face? The main lead, the lead character. Kenny. He reads comics and stuff, and we see a copy of X-Men, and I remember the bullies are just like, look at this Satanist reading up. Well, what are you, like a mutant with your regenerative powers? You Satanist fuck? Yeah. Oh, look, he reads X-Men, you know. X-Men's not a great comic. I know you like the X-Men, Laura, but...
I
I
do.
love the X-Men. I Satanist? I mean, if anything, it's like thinly veiled anti-Nazism. I mean, which I'm all for.
With the
for
X-Men?
record. Yeah.
Or just
I
their
mean,
families in general. I think it's weird that
Oh, you're actually getting into the X-Men thing. I mean, this was
sorry,
just,
no.
This was a
It's a weird line. You're right.
It's a
no
weird
one's
line,
ever
yes.
associated reading comic books, especially the X-Men, with Satanism.
No.
Like there's so many other titles you could have chose. Anyway,
I mean, Marvel's incredibly non-Christian, I guess. I mean, you could probably go that far.
sure, but I mean,
But, you know, I mean, the bullies
That's
have to they have to attach themselves to something. I got bullied for reading comics, and now everyone and their mother fucking loves
Nerd.
comics now. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
did you ever telepathically turn sprinklers on them?
No, I didn't. But certainly, I'm not like some of the people who say they love comics now with their big fake tits and their fucking nonsense, streaming it to the world. So, you know,
I don't know why I looked
that's
down.
what I was missing.
I think comics are just fine. I don't know why people are cruel in school.
I think
Down with
kids just
cruelty in
are.
school.
Cool to be cruel.
Down with school, I say.
Yeah.
Get rid of school.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I guess. No, we need
Totally.
school. Yeah, people need to fucking be able to read, because, yeah, well, that is the problem. People are stupid enough as it is.
Let's talk about it, Dick.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have these runes, right? And they all are special. We've got 6 runes, and the very first rune that we see is shaped like a vagina, and it's the birthstone. Makes sense. And this chick is wearing it to impress her date that's coming over, a very special date. But when she puts on this necklace, she looks out at the lunar eclipse, and then immediately gets knocked up by the moon.
It happens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty common in the city.
Yeah,
It's
it
pretty
happens.
cool.
It
Yeah, I think
happens.
something to add, obviously not to kind of take away from the momentum of this moment, is that the runes have been stolen and they have been spread around the world.
No, Ryan.
I think
They've
they
been
were-
spread around North America specifically.
Oh, I was going to say that. Yeah.
Somehow, in these 6 runes, like maybe we should all keep them not only the same continent, the same like
Land mass.
the same land mass, and then actual like governing body or whatever you call it, country. You know what I mean? It's like there's not one in Mexico or Canada. It's like, oh no, they happen to be on like Route 66, basically.
It's like they're in New York, Chicago.
It's the one
and
road that goes all the way across
in
from the east to the
California.
west. Of,
Yes, correct. Yes.
basically.
Like I love that they all happen to be here.
I mean, the U.S. is the center of the world, obviously. Remember when the
Of course.
aliens attacked?
I mean,
They only
yeah.
attacked the U.S.
I mean, even Warlock 1, where does he crash land from Boston? Oh, weird. He's in L.A. all of a sudden when he doesn't have to go through
Yeah.
time, but space, because that was convenient for production.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, there's a lot of things going on. Anyway, yeah, so they're all in North America, and this woman has the oddly shaped vagina stone.
She's got the special vagina stone, and she gets impregnated by Satan's son. Satan's one and only son. Oh my god.
Yeah,
It's so great.
she births out something that looks like a really disgusting black bogey, and it's moving around. And
It
the
looks
dog
amazing,
gives it
by
a
the
wee
way.
lick.
You
Yes.
know that I love like practical effects,
Yeah,
and I love a nice gooey bag.
It's so wet.
It's so
so
incredibly wet. That's what I miss about those monster movies, those practical effects when you get like a wet, gross.
Just like you know the actual effects guys just had they literally tubs of KY and they just have
Yeah.
handfuls
Yeah.
just rubbing it on it.
just lubing up Julian.
yeah.
But
It's like as the decades go on, things get drier.
No, but let me say,
Yeah.
I think a peak of pure wetness, just to sidebar for a second, is From Beyond.
Yeah, I
From
was gonna
Beyond
say
is
that, yeah.
the absolute gooeyest,
That is a very
drippiest
wet film.
monsters ever. The whole thing, top to bottom.
Yeah.
Like, it's wet. It's a, ugh.
Sexy too.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but also wet, like a very distinct wet.
I mean, there's also that horrible scene from The Terror from Beyond Space where that woman gets
Oh dear.
gets attacked by that giant space bug as
mean-
well, and it's very kind of gooey.
Yeah, and there's I forget which nightmare movie it is, but when he I think it's 3 or 4, it's Dream Warriors, where he swallows that girl when he's
Yes.
when he's the big worm. The big Freddy worm is like
Oh,
also
yeah.
hella gooey. I remember being
Yeah.
like, "Whoa, look how wet that weird worm Kruger is."
Yeah. Yeah, I think the only other thing that I mean, I like this birthing sequence is probably only second to the birthing sequence in Hellraiser where Frank comes out of the floor and like develops a skeleton in,
Or,
in
like-
reverse. Yeah,
Ace Ventura when nature calls.
slightly different. I mean, isn't that the same year?
Pretty wet.
Yeah, isn't it?
It's pretty wet. You're not wrong.
Yeah, well, he's very sweaty in that sequence. Very sweaty. But I don't know why in Ace Ventura, like, he thought that he would have been fine with that tiny little fan. like in that
You're
rhinoceros,
dissecting this.
like in the African like Serengeti. Like, how did he ever think that was going to be like? That is heat beyond heat.
Yeah, Fan's not gonna do it.
No, that little
Really
tiny little fan. I
dehydrated.
mean, I know it's for comedy, and obviously that's that's how that is. But
I can only laugh when it makes sense.
yeah,
that just doesn't make any sense.
That moment to me was guano.
Wow. So
yes.
this film has one of my, what do you call it? Like, I don't abide dog harm.
Oh right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, this didn't bother me at all. Okay, so she's got this white
Wow.
Pomeranian, and the Pomeranian is very curious about this very wet bag of human goo, right?
Yeah.
And the dog walks over to and walks into the pool of blood around it and starts licking the goo, and I loved it. It was so funny. Then you've got a hand that comes out, which ends up being Julian Sands, and grabs the dog, swings the dog around, and then fucking tosses it against like a wall. But it just goes to this moment where the dog, of course, is getting grabbed, and the dog is concerned. Rightfully so.
Yeah,
but then
of
when
course.
he throws the dog, it's like a little teddy bear.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like a little plushy dog. But it's so funny. Like, they made it so I wasn't very concerned. I wasn't worried about him.
Doesn't he just pull the dog into his like, I don't know, the black scrotum sac that he comes from?
No, he tosses him.
Oh, he just tosses
I
it.
thought he pulled him in first.
Okay, I thought he pulled it in.
He might have
He
just
just
tugged him around,
he
but
gets,
I think he throws
just
him.
gets real wet because everything's real wet.
Yeah, everything gets
I was curious watching that. I was like, what did they put on that to make that dog go over there? Like, there's something
I know,
on that
I wanted
thing,
to
like
know that
fish
too.
oil. Like, what was
Yeah.
that dog trained to just be like, I will actually walk through corn syrup to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those dogs can be very finicky.
Because you're going to shave that dog at that point. Like, corn syrup and that fur. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I've done so.
Oh, so
Yeah.
sticky.
Anyway,
Peanut
what
butter.
that leads to.
Yeah.
Well,
he is birthed. He's birthed in the way
he
that
comes out of that bag. I think that they put him like on like a riser or something, like underneath the ground, and
yes.
then like rose him up through the ground, through the bag.
Which they probably only had one or two takes at. I think he really, like, it looks like he's in that weird condom womb placenta thing. Like, he breaks through it and it looks like a very intensive reset.
it looks like, when they birthed that really bad orc in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It's
Yes,
like that,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Like it's in his own little bubble, and they break the bubble, and
Yeah,
The lead
absolutely.
Uruk-hai.
and the orc's so bad that he kills the little orc,
Yep.
and you're like, all right, cool.
He's a
So
boss
he's
orc.
he's a
he's
boss
Uruk-hai.
orc. Yeah, he has his own
Yeah,
health
the
bar.
Uruk-hai.
Yeah, he has his own health bar.
Played
So he's like,
by-
yeah, he's not going to fuck around. So yeah, no, he's birthed, but because he's birthed, he's naked, covered in black goo.
Oh my gosh!
He's covered in treacle.
Don't
And
you want to
he's-
give your boy a kiss, mother?
He's slowly walking towards his now mum.
14 minutes
Yeah.
and 10 seconds into this film, we have a newborn baby Julian.
Yeah, it pops off. I think technically would have been in the first reel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fully naked, as you were saying, covered in goo. His mom is rightfully horrified because she was
Yes.
just about, like, she was getting ready. She kind of had this Megan Fox look to her. I don't know if you felt that at all. I don't know, like, especially when she got really upset. She kind of looked like Megan
Oh,
Fox.
okay.
I did not catch it.
Yeah.
But she's rightfully upset because she was probably looking to get laid by a very special guest. And instead...
Pray tell who?
Instead... I'll bring it up.
Okay.
Everyone has
Yeah.
to wait. Instead, she gives birth to a demon baby. So I have... Okay, I'm going to bring this up. Okay. I'm getting too ahead of myself. I'm too excited.
It starts with G and ends in Remlins.
Stop.
So yeah, he's walking down the hall towards his mother. She's, bleeding out, trying to crawl away from him, very upset. And
She's bleeding from all these different... She smashed onto the dining room table that had glasses and plates and all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff on it. So she's got, like, lacerations on her arms and all sorts all over her face. So she's not doing well.
but
And also
he's
something forced its way out of her. So,
pretty big too.
yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a full-size man that came out. Like, he grew a bit.
But
I mean, it was like the size of a
Yes.
soft,
It wasn't, it wasn't like Gozu,
like a basketball
where a
or
full-size
something.
man
Yeah.
comes out of a woman. It wasn't like Gozu, but
she's
same thing.
forever torn apart down there.
well, forever's not very long.
True.
No, she's not got very long to live. So she scrambles to the bathroom. Let's get ourselves into the bathroom, and he's walking down the hallway, and obviously he's very menacing because
Mummy?
he's asked her for a kiss, called her mum, like all this sort of thing. I mean, you just give him a wee kiss.
I wonder if she had been nicer to him, like a mother should be. Do you think this would have gone south so quickly?
He's a real bad bastard, though.
He has a mission. He knows what he's
Like,
there to do.
He doesn't
He
have
is
to.
not nice.
He doesn't have to kill anybody.
He could have.
He's quite charming.
To be fair, he could have had all the ass he wanted, but you know what? He's not going to take it.
He's no longer mortal. He cares
No.
not for those things.
Did
Now
he get any ass in the first Warlock? I don't think so.
Okay, listen to this.
Here you go.
The only people that Warlock has any kind of, and it's not a sexual thing necessarily, but the only type of intimate moments that he has with any other person in any of these films is with men.
Yeah, it's
And I
other
love it.
dudes, yeah.
Yep.
The first one, he bites off that guy's tongue, gets right in there.
Yeah.
Really gets in there. And this one, he like sucks out a guy's ear, and very intimate. Very sexy stuff.
Yeah,
I love it.
would say so. Yeah, I mean,
He
you're not
teases
gonna lie.
the women, but
He
he
does.
never gets as close to a woman as he does with any of the men.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah. Anyway,
This moment, for anyone, I hope to Satan that y'all have seen this film, because this moment in the bathroom is one of my favorite things that's happened in cinema. When he pops up over the door from the outside, and there's that, I don't even know what you would call it.
It's like a transom window.
Okay. And he kind of pulls himself up. He's naked, covered in like blood and goo. And he's saying, "Let me in, mother, let me in." And she goes, "Fuck you," which I thought was quite rude, because he hasn't been mean to her yet. He has not done anything wrong.
I love your justifying of this. Like,
He hasn't. He didn't choose to be born.
he stalked her menacingly down that hallway,
He
completely
had his arms
naked.
outreached calling for mother. He was just as confused as
And
she
I will
was.
point out, we did kind of gloss over it. When he's coming down that hallway and his body catches the light a certain way, that's when you see it, in case people are wondering
Oh, yeah.
whether that happens or not.
I don't know how clear that is on the
happens.
Tubi version, but on that Blu-ray, that dick is crisp and clear.
Yeah, you should get yourself that Blu-ray version, because it is incredibly cheap, and it's 3 strikes there that you get. You get the thruple, as it were, of the Warlock. So it's definitely worth getting.
Oh my god.
Just for this half a second, 14 and somewhat minutes in, it's worth it.
Yes.
Oh god. For the bathroom scene is my favorite. It's my favorite.
So she won't let him in.
She won't let him in.
No.
Fuck you, son, she says. And he's staring at her from that little window above the door, and he just screams this scream that is obviously otherworldly, but it's like a grown man making a baby cry. Like, it's a very, very strange noise, and he looks crazy when he does it.
Yeah.
And he screams so loud that her eardrums burst, blood everywhere, and then all of the glass and the windows and the mirror just shatter and implode inside of the bathroom.
Everything explodes.
Oh, it's so cool, you guys.
Yeah.
But what would he have done if she hadn't ran from him? What was his agenda there?
It would have been like everybody else, because he has to get these runes and these stones willingly.
Yeah.
He has to be given to them willingly. He cannot take them. If he would have asked, maybe she would have been like, yeah, take the fucking stone and get out of my house.
Well, here's the thing. He didn't know about the stones until he convenes with her corpse
Yeah.
to the devil or the demon who effectively brought him back. So he's like, what the fuck's going on? Why am I back? It's the 600 years now. And then, obviously, he convenes with the devil by sticking his hand in the side of her head, and she talks. But then, what's-his-face comes to the door wearing a nice suit.
Okay, hold on. Before we talk about that special guest,
Okay.
who's right here in this room? Oh, I wish. He probably would have if we would have asked him.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
anyway.
I mean,
So when I'm going to bring up the commentary again, but Anthony says when Julian kind of comes out of that placenta thing and he's walking down the hallway, he goes, "Here comes penis." And
What?
then, yeah, that's what the director said in the commentary.
oh, right.
Here comes
okay.
penis.
I
And
thought,
he goes,
I thought that's what the boy said at the door.
No. I'm going backwards. I didn't want to leave this moment yet. And he goes, before Spartacus, we were first. And then he also said, won't sell in Japan because only women can be naked. And then he said that Julian is method, which is why he insisted on being nude.
Oh, okay.
So he's like, you don't have to be. And he goes, no.
I mean, this isn't Julian's first rodeo though either.
Hell no.
Like, yeah,
It ain't his last.
yeah, yeah. The guy does not fuck around when it comes to this sort of thing.
No.
I'm just glad he
Daredevil.
did it because otherwise we wouldn't be talking about Warlock. I mean, that's really the thing. So that's why.
Thank
That's
you,
why we
Julian.
were. Well, I think the minute that you saw it, because you just put it on for shits and giggles.
I just wanted to watch that movie.
You wanted to watch it. It immediately replaced something else that we were going to do this year.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Because normally if I'm watching a film, because sometimes dicks just happen when you're watching a film, and
They do.
I do have a really great database, but there's some films that I just didn't know about that aren't maybe culturally as popular. You know, it's not like a Boogie Nights situation like Warlock, the Armageddon, you know? So it's not on everyone's top list, but I will normally stop it and I go, well, we're going to do it on the podcast.
I do like the idea of Julian Sands like looking in a mirror being like, I'm a star. I'm a star.
Big bright
I'm a big, bright, shining star.
He is. He was. But I'll normally stop the film and go, okay, we're going to do it on the podcast. I'm not going to finish this movie because then I'd have to watch it twice. Now, this film, I go, there's no fucking way I'm stopping watching this film. I love this. And it just continued to get better from there. And now I've seen it several times and I'll watch it again.
It's good. It's a fucking great film. I fucking think it is fun as fuck. It is really silly and it really plays into some of the things that I like in the first one as well. So, you know, the first one's fun in a different way, in a more kind of fantasy way. Warlock 2 is a little bit more horrific. There's a lot of
Definitely
like,
a lot more horror.
there's a lot of needless deaths that happen in this film.
And like a little sillier. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the first one has comedy for sure, but the second one is like just more like out for like a quick laugh.
I love his flesh map. Like the map that
I
tells him
love
where
that it
to
dries
go.
out and he's got to
He's gonna put
And it's covered
it up
with
with blood.
Yeah, it's like covered with leaves and shit. Yeah, again, doesn't make any sense.
It's so dirty, man. Come on, you got to take care of that.
He just
it's the only one
rips
you got.
rips that prostitute's scalp off and says, "Here's your hair. Look at your hair." You know,
Well, she was being really annoying.
she was being annoying, but did it really warrant that level of like,
Yes.
you know? All right, okay,
Cartoon villainy, you mean?
Yeah, pretty
I don't
much,
know.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, this scene where he, you know, after he puts his hands inside of his mother's neck while she's laying on the table and he convenes with Papa Satan and he gets that flesh map. So the director thought that maybe this was like a bit too far. He thought that the audience, like that was a specific moment where the audience
really?
turned on him.
okay.
He goes, it didn't go over too well. And he said that if he were to recut the film, he might take some of that out. I think that's a
I mean, it's
shame.
not in there that much. It's really,
Well,
I mean, it's only
okay.
a couple times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there also, which I noticed watching it again, like when he's the mother, she's laying on that table and he's kind of at her head, right? And where he has his hands in her neck and stuff, and he's doing all this, whatever, talking to Satan. You can see his pubes,
Yeah,
crystal clear.
yeah.
Thought you were going to see it again, but
Well,
you
her
don't.
head's like perfect level to where his junk is.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
very Austin Powers type of situation.
I guess so. I guess so.
But someone comes to the door, you guys. A special date.
Finally.
A very special
Finally.
date. Does anyone care as much as we do? I guess we'll find
Probably
out.
not.
Probably
I guess
not.
we'll-
I mean,
Ding
we're of
dong,
a
who's
we're of a
there?
generation. Who's there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knock knock.
I
Wait,
just,
she
I
knocked
just
knocked.
knock knock. You got,
Oh, Hello?
It's fucking Zach Galligan already. Jesus, you guys. Zach from
hell?
Zach Galligan from Gremlins fame.
I thought we were doing like
I
a
said
role
ding
play
dong,
thing.
and you go knock knock. What kind of fucked up game?
But
is
no one
this?
says ding dong. It's always knock knock. You're like,
Oh my god, it's
hello,
updated.
I'm coming to the door. Give me a minute. And then you go out and you open the door and
It's the 90s. We have doorbells now.
all right, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess so. Well, now you've got Ring doorbells and you can just look on your phone like, oh, it's, what's his face from...
It's Zach
Galligan?
from
What?
Gremlins.
Dude, I would love if I looked at my Ring notification and be like, what? He's at my door?
With that bunch
And
of
he's
roses?
wearing black? Yeah.
Oh, he brought me flowers. What a lovely man.
That's probably probably happened to somebody in, like, I don't know, Eagle Rock or some other neighborhood in L.A. They'd be like, Ring? Oh, shit, it's Zach Galligan. Yeah, he's my neighbor. Hold on, let me see what he wants.
Yeah. Well, it's probably happened, but it's like being Steve Gutenberg and you're like, nope, not answering that door.
Jesus.
What? Definitely not.
Oh,
wearing
my
pants.
God. I would rush home.
The Goot?
Yeah.
He's also pantless.
Of course. He
Yeah.
is.
100%.
Because he was running through Central Park.
I could be
again.
at my spouse's funeral. I'd be
And he's
like, I
now-
have to go.
yeah, he's now-
This will never happen again.
The Goot
Like,
is
this will
pantless at
never
my door.
happen again. She would understand. Sorry, dead wife.
Go forth.
Yeah, yes.
Go forth to get the Goot.
Look at the glutes on that goot.
Look at the gooch on that Goot.
Woo!
Oh, dear.
So Zach Galligan showed up because he just said, come over for lunch to the set. And they put him in the movie.
Was that true?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he was in Wax. Was it Waxwork?
Waxwork and Waxwork, too.
Have you seen those, Ty?
Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah. They're
Are they
okay.
wet?
They're
They're not as wet as they should be?
No, I will say, like, it's the first one especially, like, it vibes like a first film. It's just, like, a little rough around the edges. Like, there's a lot of polish. It's a real movie. But, like, just he hasn't quite found his footing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's, like, it has a lot of different monster, like, makeup effects in it. Like, that's what really sells it. It's sort of like a before the Monster Squad Monster Assembly movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, it has that going for it, which I think is why it has a lot of lasting power. But it's not objectively, like, a great movie. Like, there's a better execution of that movie, but it's a solid concept.
It's got that little person in it on the poster. I think I might have seen this movie.
Who was also in Warlock 2.
Yes.
And who was also, somebody say it.
I don't know.
Isn't the smallest person in the world at that time?
Yes,
or something?
who played Alf from Alf, my favorite sitcom as a kid. Yes. That actor, whatever his name is, I can't remember, was in Alf.
Okay.
He was Alf for all the seasons.
Yeah.
And yeah, was in a lot of movies. He sort of like parlayed that celebrity into that.
Wow, okay.
I mean, we were on Galligan, and we somehow got off of Galligan. But anyway, there he was. Yeah, so good for him.
There's Zach.
There's Zach.
I had written down about the flying, which we've already kind of talked about, but did we exactly say how he was able to fly in the original film?
Oh, we did not. This is
So
a chance.
in the original film, he's talking to this little kid who's actually kind of cool, and they're having a nice time, and they're playing video games together on the swings, and they're just having like a nice chat, Warlock and child. And then you find out that in order for him to fly, he has to drink the fat of an unbaptized child.
Yeah,
and so
so
the
fucked
next
up.
thing you see is him just drinking out of like an aluminum can. And then he starts flying, and in this film, you know, as we'd already talked about, he's already a supernatural son of Satan, so he doesn't need to drink the fat of a child.
I feel like Warlock 2 would have showed you some version of like the dead kid, but Warlock 1 I think was still classy enough to be like cut away and just heavily imply by the hot rendered fat in the cup that he killed that kid. Where I feel like 2 would have given you some level of gore with it.
Yeah.
That's just the difference.
Yeah.
in the
It's
vibe.
pretty horrible.
Yeah, I mean, but I think it's more effective in the first one to be like, oh shit, he killed a kid. Like at that point, you're like, oh, got it. So he's like really actually a really terrible person. Got it. Check.
I heard your child was dead. I grieve for you.
Yeah, he does roll into that like small community trailer park, and he's like, yeah. But tell me about the man.
I need you
that
to
killed
tell
him.
me, how did your child die?
Yeah, was he baptized?
Oh, yeah, was he baptized?
Was he baptized? Was he
Like
baptized?
in the moment where she's maybe having doubt, like, oh God, we never baptized him. What if I just sent my kid to hell? Richard E. Grant's there to be like, look, was he fucking baptized or not? Is he burning in hell or is he not? Because he's definitely a Christian man. Redfern is 100% a Christian man.
absolutely.
So
Well,
he's
the thing-
basically
yeah.
saying, like,
Well,
does
the
your
minute-
boy rot?
The minute that she gives that answer and he does not say anything
He
afterwards,
just
it's
turns
like,
away.
oh, so yeah, no, he has gone to hell then. Oh, okay.
Well, he's not worried about the child. He's worried about the
Yeah,
fact that warlock can fucking fly now.
Yeah, fair point.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. There are only two things in this world the warlock will matter. And he'll be like,
That was you. I love a Scottish man doing an English man doing a Scotsman.
I mean, it's not hard. It's really not. So I wanted to bring this point up. And I think it's important. But
Good.
there is a point where it's what's his name again? It's not Jimmy. What the fuck's his name? Zachariah.
Kenny?
Kenny. There we go. So
Zachariah.
Kenny's talking.
Zachariah.
Kenny's talking to the girl who's going to be also the second warrior in this piece.
The Druid Warriors.
But there's this weird sequence that's almost in slow motion, and it's his father and Frank, who's the friend. They've both got guns, and they just set up upon his son, and they're like, "Dad, you're scaring me," and he just fucking shoots him through the stomach. And then they bring him back to life, and then this is when he learns about, like, obviously the druids and everything is, and he's just like, in a very disparaging way, as if the kid should have known all of this as well already, is he's like, it's a world of magic, son, and it's like, of course it is.
It's another one of those things where it could easily have been, he could have been brought up with this information,
Yes.
or maybe not all of the information to the point where he would go, if this goes down and a warlock comes, I will have to kill you, but you'll be brought back to life, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, that'll be hard to swallow.
You know what would have been really, really fucking interesting, and it would have sealed up all of this stuff, because everyone in the town don't like this family because they're weird, right? They're very kind of let's say, to them, they're very anti-Christian, even though the faith and the druids and their background, their history is all... Yeah, they do think they're Satanists.
But they don't, it's like, they could just fucking explain it.
They could just explain it, but I feel like this is very much like kind of the middle American like mindset, where it's kind of like we don't really understand things that are different, so we hate it.
Yeah, it's small town.
Yeah, small town thinking. But the thing that I thought might have made the film interesting is the idea of, like, they replace the druid thing with like don't replace the druid thing, but like take the idea of like they're like a survivalist family, and they're like brought up on these beliefs, and it's like one day you're going to be the next druid warrior. So from the age of his birth, he's brought up to believe that he's going to become this hero that's going to be needed in the near future and stuff. I would have liked that. But
but then he wouldn't have had all those silly little tricks and trying to learn his magic powers.
yeah, like Luke Skywalker, when it basically turns into fucking Star Wars at one point, except that they replace the droid with the blindfold thing when he's trying to train with the lightsaber with just a baseball, and like trying to hover a baseball about, and that becomes a thing. And
you're pointing out a thing that I really hate that bad scripts do. Like, and I never say it like a sentence like this, but like it's that hallmark where like where someone, like the main character, doesn't know something, the other person's like, well, I'll explain that later. Well, I'll tell you later. And it's like, this is going to take you 10 seconds. Just fucking say it.
Yeah.
Like but that happens I'm being nice. It's probably more like 4 to 6 times with the father, where it's like, get some sleep, we'll talk in the morning. And in the morning, it's one sentence he had to say that did not have, it's just like, you could have set this kid down for 5.5 minutes and filled him in.
It's even
But
worse
it drags it out.
with the girl.
Oh, yeah.
With the girlfriend, daughter, Samantha. Because the thing with Kenny is that he has these powers, and he's told about the powers, and he's being trained, and he's still shit at it. And then you have Samantha, who is not told a damn thing, doesn't know what's going on, but she can do her powers immediately without any training.
I mean, she's also a woman, and she matures quicker than the man does. Kenny doesn't strike me as someone who's particularly intelligent. I'm not going to put it out there, but I mean,
he does go swimming in jeans.
He swims in his own jeans. He's like, it's also dangerously close to having like a Jeff Buckley moment where like he'd just end up jumping in the water and he'd still be wearing like his fucking boots and he'd die.
Luckily, he did take his shoes off.
But then he's also like, another thing that I really didn't like about him was that he's desperately obsessed, and he's going to go no matter what to San Francisco, and it's obvious he's never been before. Otherwise, why would he want to go?
I don't know. Was San Francisco really nice in the 90s? Maybe.
I think so.
Unsure.
Okay.
Especially from small town Northern California, it was like the closest big city. Like, wow, we're gonna go.
I guess. If you're gonna,
we made it.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, he's going to college, right?
Yeah, maybe if you're
Isn't
in
Berkeley
California
near there?
already.
It is. No, it is. It's
So
on the
maybe he's
other side
going
of
to
the bay,
Berkeley.
Yeah, maybe that makes sense. Well,
Yeah.
Since
Okay.
we're talking about this kid of the 90s, I feel like this is a good segue to just the fashion in the movie, but specifically Kenny's shirt that he has towards the end, which is just like all pockets. It is these two massive pockets that basically go from like sternum to waist. I mean, they go past the bottom of his rib cage. And I mean, there are yards and yards and yards of fabric in that one shirt. I mean, sorry, I hit my mic, sorry. It drapes fabric and it's tucked in. Like, and if you need like a comparative shirt, watch Sleepless in Seattle. Tom Hanks is also in like 38 yards of light denim fabric made into a shirt. And it is just ridiculous.
It's like quintessential father in a romantic comedy. Not even father, single father in a romantic comedy sort of outerwear.
But then Kenny, the teenager, is also wearing it in this movie. It's just so ubiquitous 90s. You're like, ooh.
Because Tom Selleck has the exact same shirt in one of those Three Men and a Baby movies as well.
That feels right.
Yeah, I mean,
it was me at the time.
It's his muck around, like, I'm going to do things at the weekend sort of shirt. Yeah, that's it, because I've got one of those shirts. I really like that shirt. Yeah.
Is it also like a light denim?
It's like a light denim blue shirt. Yep.
Wow, we're bring it back. Bring it back.
I'm gonna. I think it
looks comfy.
Well, it's also like, I mean, we're getting older, but like I really like just like that kind of clothing on me now with the temperatures and stuff the way they are. I'm like
loungewear.
Yeah, like a good lounging.
Well, it's fabric. I can just move so freely. Like, I'm unrestricted.
It's like
I want to drape myself in velvet.
Well, not velvet, like light denim.
Yeah.
Seinfeld, fucking hell. Did we get to the bit where
there's so many good deaths? Yeah.
Julian Sands starts squirting?
Oh my gosh!
I can't stop you squirting, he goes.
And he's at the gas station?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when the druids do their one spell and he squirts. I think that the gas station attendant is holding his hands over his squirting back, and I think he just yells, "Won't stop squirting." He says something to that effect, and I screamed. He's squirting out of his ears, his eyes, and it does nothing. Like, it never comes back. They never use it again.
No.
Because he gets a quick little refill from the attendant. And it's good as new.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the druids don't ever do that stuff again. It's like it happens by accident.
Yeah.
But then
like,
it's
this might
like...
work.
And he's like, no, this isn't working, but it is working. He's just not aware of it working. So I was also kind of like... slightly bemused and a little bit confused by what was going on. I didn't have an issue with it, but I was kind of like, oh, this is never going to be brought back up again. It kind of felt like a weird non-sequitur.
Yeah, because in the first one, like, they do things. Like, she nails, like, the nails into, like, the dirt, and it hurts him in his feet.
And she sees
explained.
It
That's the thing.
It's
explained, because when Redfern's there, he is obviously the intellectual in this situation. He knows everything. So when he says to do this, it's like, what the fuck do you mean? He's like, no, this will work. This is why this works. But there's nobody really in this world that we have in Warlock 2
That's true,
to do any of those things. Even certainly when you feel like the druids themselves are doing things, but they're not aware that they're working.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at this point they're like basically been sitting around for 500 years, just like hanging out. So they're like, "Hey, this shit probably works."
Let's
you know what I mean?
Way.
Whereas like Redfern was like using that on the daily.
Yeah,
because obviously there's the Frank character who's notably the oldest of the three druids that are there. Mm-hmm. And immediately when they find out that the warlock is loose and he's on his way there, he's immediately like, well, I was hoping I was going to see my 70th birthday. Yeah. And every single turn, he is like Mr. Pessimistic. Like, I'm going to go look out my grave spot. Like, I'm going to go do this. It's like, chill the fuck out, Frank. Like, let's have a little bit of optimism. Just a little bit. It is it's a world of magic, son. You know. Just gotta give it a chance.
Nice.
I really, I want to bring up a couple of the deaths because I really like the fashion show. The fashion show, fashion lady.
The one touch
Yeah,
I
she's
like.
great.
The one touch I like is that when he notices the stone on one of the models and he gets up on the catwalk and starts walking towards the offstage area, they're still taking pictures of him.
He is sexy. I mean, I wouldn't bat an eye. I would probably fire off a few myself and be like, "Was that? Well, who cares?"
I mean, when he does
Yeah,
touch that suit that
good.
the Gremlins boy's wearing, he just goes,
boy.
he just goes, black.
He swaggers out wearing that suit, looking good.
He does, yeah.
I
He
will.
does.
I will say one of my favorite like moments in this film happens when he drops her. There is like she crashes through the glass ceiling and she hits the thing, and there's like a quick sequence of like people reacting or getting hit with blood, and there is a guy in glasses, I think, who gets it direct in the face, like a squirt. Like they hit him with the pneumatic gun right in the face, and I mean it's less than a second. I would guess it's like 18 frames, you know what I mean? But it's so fast, but he takes it like that dude definitely had to see the set medic. Like he took it in the eyes. It's so fast, but
Yeah.
it's so intense. It's so good.
Took it like a champ. Yeah, it's
That
like
guy
way
right in
that-
his...
The way that the blood comes out, because I feel like the blood comes out before she even hits the ground, and there's just glass everywhere. She probably only falls maybe like 3 stories.
I would say 20, 25 feet maybe.
Yeah.
It's not that far.
No.
But she
That's
almost
still like
explodes.
that's still a well. She also gets impaled on glass and
There's
all
a lot of
sorts of
glass,
things.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's probably a lot of that going on.
I
Yeah,
have no
I mean that's
qualms with it
definitely
whatsoever.
well, 20 feet is you can die from that height. Like you'll die, you will die from that height.
I do love that he walks backstage and like is so charming that she's just like, I'm going to leave this fashion show I've prepared for God knows how long. You've got this, hon.
Yeah.
I was so annoyed when, he needs to get that rune from her, for the stone, and they're in the air flying, and she's so turned on by the fact that this guy is like, can fly, which fair enough. And she's flying in the air. Then he asks her for the stone, and she just fucking gives it to him while she's floating over. I'm like, don't do that, man. Wait until you're on solid
You can see
ground.
it, you can see it from a mile away. But then you also have zero respect for her from the beginning, where it's just like his pickup line is, "Yeah, I'm a witch," and she's like, "A warlock," and she's like, "Yes."
I thank you for pointing that out. I love that she's like, you mean a warlock? She's like, oh, I know my Britannica dictionary terms for witches and warlocks.
Yeah, well, I know what I am.
Can be witches.
I know what I identify as.
Yeah, she's like, I went to Brown. Okay, I understand what the difference is.
Ignoramus.
What does he say when he drops her? Does he say like
Ride
rides
over. Yeah, rides
Yep,
over.
yep.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
This is also the introduction of him having Schwarzenegger levels of like one-liners.
One-liners,
Yeah,
yeah,
for
he gets
each of the deaths.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated a lot. Like he runs over a bunny when he's got that car and he goes, "It's the Wild West," for whatever reason. I don't really understand what that means, but he runs over a bunny.
There's not a big sense of love for animals in this film.
No.
Dogs are tossed around like dolls.
Yeah.
Birds littered on the streets.
Oh, yeah.
Rabbits unceremoniously squished.
Yes. But it is the 90s, I mean,
So, Funhouse death.
Circus, funhouse.
the Hall of Mirrors.
The Hall of Mirrors is my nightmare. So I don't think that this would have come over to you, Ryan.
I will
growing
point
up.
this out. It's one of my least favorite shots in any movie is the establishing shot of the circus, because it looks like a really bad matte painting and put in front, and there's obviously they haven't got like a big top or the tent or anything like that. They just obviously have this interior that they've made up to be like, the horror circus thing. Mm-hmm. But that establishing shot looks fucking terrible.
Oh, I don't remember it.
It's something that I saw like immediately, but it did look. It looked pretty bad. Looked pretty awful. I would expect people to maybe look at that when they go in there. Because I think the only physical set is something that's in like the bottom quarter of the screen. The rest of it is a painting.
Oh, wow.
And it looks really bad. Because you can tell it's a painting. But then when they get in there, like, this is when it gets a little surreal, I think.
Yeah. There's like, he's transported to like a whole dimension that no one else gets transported to, full of, I don't know, kennels and like a miniature train, and then a monster pops out of the ground in a close-up.
Welcome to the other side of reality.
I do like that. Yeah,
but it's
like
so
that.
brief, and you can tell it was like done on a budget in a day. Like no shade. It's just kind of like, shit, we got to make a whole dimension, and they were just kind of like miniature train, got it. Bunch of kennels, got it. Cool. Oh, just shoot a tight of the thing coming out of the ground. It's just like, it feels a little slapped together in like a way that like there are other things we're going to spend our money on.
I like the idea of it because the idea of it is much scarier than the reality of it, where it's like you can physically look at it in a mirror and he's basically saying there's another world behind that mirror, and it's like the bizarro world that you're in right now, and it's fucking hellish. That's something I quite admired and I was interested in. I
love a scary mirror thing. I was about to bring up that I don't think that you would have seen this growing up, but I don't know if you saw it, Ty. You remember Are You Afraid of the Dark? Mm-hmm. Do you remember that episode with the mirrors? It was called The Tale of the Mystical Mirror.
I do not.
It was a 1995 episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, and it was a similar thing where... Oh, God, I can't remember the episode. It only haunts me through images in my brain, because that show had really scary episodes.
Plenty of other things haunt me, but that one, I can't recall right now, but absolutely,
it was like
that show was great.
Like a bizarro version of you on the other side of the mirror that's, like, stuck, and then they trick you into going into the mirror world, and that's kind of what this obviously is doing, and it is
There's a shitty film that we saw recently that was like that, with a girl and her, like, other self was on the other side of the mirror. We saw a film of that recently.
I don't remember.
It was really bad. Well, I mean, it was fucking terrible.
Horrible.
But no, I mean, there's the Bloody Mary. There's the Bloody Mary folklore with the mirror, like, and then obviously we have Candyman as well, which is kind of just a take on that as well.
But those are things like coming out of the mirror at you rather than your...
You don't go in the mirror.
Yeah, going into the mirror world.
I mean, also we're not mentioning, I guess that's a spoiler, but Us. I mean, we're not mentioning that. That's like, that's like a modern day version of that. I mean, I feel like you can spoilerly free mention that now.
Yeah.
It's been years. You should have seen it.
I think, you probably should have seen Us by now.
But yeah, so there is a modern version of that again. Mm-hmm. People taking like a classic trope and kind of turning it on its head. But the Funhouse also has, don't quote me here, it definitely has one of the most noticeable split diopter shots in the movie, but it might have two within that one sequence of them all talking, if I remember. Because this is our segue into, this movie has a lot of split diopter shots. Like, most movies of the time, like, there was an era where you would have, like, one. It was like a specialty thing you would bring out for one shot.
I would say, like,
have two.
I would say the split diopter, I would note more towards, like, Brian De Palma or something.
He does make extensive use of it. Tony Hickox in this one movie, I'm curious what the count is. It's at least 5, but I wouldn't be surprised if you...
It is at least 5, because we started counting at the 40-minute mark of the film, and we had 5.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there was 7 or 8, which is a lot.
And there's one in the beginning, so there's at least 6.
We had 6, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if
we
there's
didn't
7
count
or 8.
the beginning.
It's obviously Tony had a little bit of inspiration from Jaws, which I think is one of the only times I think the split diopter shot is actually very good. Just because Brian De Palma uses it all the fucking time. I love it.
It's great.
I think it's the
it is a signature sort of thing for him, and it's sad. It's now gone by the wayside thanks to
Ryan's going to bring it back.
Very sensitive center. Just new opticals and very sensitive sensors.
We're going to wait for Ryan's next film, and he's going to do it even more.
I don't. Yeah,
more than 6 times.
I mean, just
we're gonna count them.
Yeah, let's just make everyone feel fucking sick by just having an entire film made up of just split diopter shots.
How can I get them both in focus? They're on opposite sides of the room.
How did I get one close and then someone far away?
He just makes it sound like it was the most clever thing in the world, and I loved it for him. He's like, oh, see? I couldn't quite get them both in focus, so what I did was...
Oh my god, I love that so much.
Like, it's so great.
There's some really good pieces of direction in this. in this film. Like, there's some really ingenious kind of camera moves and stuff. I didn't write any of this stuff down. I think I was just going to remember, but...
No, he does some, like, proto-Michael Bay kind of things where he,
Yeah.
like, will whip by an actor and then come up
Yes.
for an over-the-shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what? Like, he could have just shot a master or whatever, but he chose to, like, no, the coverage for this kid walking out of the school and seeing the bullies is to whip up the sidewalk and then come up and be over his shoulder. It's
Yes.
like it's like a strangely inspired kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
In a movie that has just like very normal camera work otherwise. But there's a couple of times he does something weird, like there's something notable like that you're like, oh, okay, he's kind of trying some shit.
There's like weird canted shots that are on the ground for like an establishing shot and things when they're having a conversation. Then you're kind of like, okay, like he's playing with it a little bit more than you would have thought. So it's a lot more. It's a little bit more dynamic than some of the stuff we saw in Warlock, I would say.
Yeah, he's having fun.
Yes.
He's having
he's
fun
like
with
trying
it.
stuff. He's like trying stuff. Steve Miner's a little more like, not that it's not uninspired, but like Steve Miner is just like a craftsman. You know what I mean? Like, I think Hickox had that like young brash thing where he was still just like doing a shot because it was cool. Whether it was unmotivated, it could be completely unmotivated, but it's just like, yeah, but this is fun. Let's do it.
Hell yeah. Do we have any other moments before we kind of trickle down to the end? I've got a couple more things.
The only thing I would say is that ending
Tidbits.
sequence with there's a massive battle between them all at the end, and I'm not going to spoil most of it, but there is the "this is your knife, no, this is your knife" moment, and then when they finally kill off Sands, it's pretty brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, the
amazing.
melting
melting.
sequence is top notch. Absolutely.
It's so wet.
In a movie that's wet,
So
it's real wet.
It's practical.
Yeah.
It is gorgeous. The way his leg kind of breaks apart and the skin falls off, his eyeball pops out. I love it. They don't do shit like that anymore. Yes. I think it's starting to come back. It's starting to come back a little bit.
It's always been in your kind of mid-tier horror stuff. I feel like they can't it's the purity of like trying and keep those elements of cinema alive, because you get a little sick and tired of the video game stuff when you go to see that in the cinema.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gets a little bit tiresome.
This one has a good mix, you guys, of silly CG.
The mix. It does have a mix.
It has a mix. Let's say it has a mix.
It's just like Jurassic Park, like you were saying. It's exactly like Jurassic Park.
Basically, they are able to make the prop knife look exactly like the knife in 3D when it's floating.
Yeah.
With the lighting effects and everything.
I have to mention my favorite part during the like end battle sequence before he melts. Julian Sands pushes over one of the big, tall, like Stonehenge rock columns, and you can distinctly see as it falls over, 2 crew members assisting Julian Sands push it over. Like, not for like almost a full second. Like, to me, it's like once I see it, I was like, I'll never unsee that. Like, there's 2 dudes clearly pushing that thing over with him.
I remember you mentioning that the other day, and I forgot to look.
The next time you
watch it. I was too engrossed.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
I was too engrossed.
I was too engrossed as well. There's a lot of really, there's just a lot of really cool moments in this movie. I mean, it rains blood at one point. I totally forgot about that.
He goes, it tastes like blood. I'm like, can you not see her face?
Yeah.
She is covered in blood.
I mean, if you need to make sure, you're just like, well, it's like, whose blood is this? Are you bleeding? Am I bleeding? What's happening here? Do we have wounds to tend to? Yeah, I wouldn't put it in my fucking mouth. That's stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this movie's pretty fucking good.
So I only have a couple other things before we get into our ratings, but I read a Variety review that said of Julian Sands in this film, chewing up the landscape with great relish, Sands almost erases all thought of his colorless adversaries.
Woof. Damn.
Oof, Jesus Christ, that's
I mean, there's nuggets of truth in there, but wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that everyone did a great job in this film. I don't think anyone is underperforming. I think everyone's having fun.
Yeah.
Again, that discounts all those solid. All the druids are really solid, like standby guys. I mean, I forget his character name, but like the guy that goes to try to find him and kill him is Norris from The Thing. Like.
Is my favorite bit in the entire movie is him stumbling and fumbling his way, and he's got like obviously he's got a pocket full of bugs, right? And they're and they start to vibrate, and he has that little that look on his face of just like, oh no, there's the warlocks in the elevator. And he has the knife. Yeah, he has the knife, and he's gonna use the knife on Julian Sands and the thing, and it's like he's got his little bum bag, and he's just kind of going around. Mm-hmm. He's got his shirt tucked in. Like it's just it's brilliant.
These druid daddies are doing their absolute best.
They really are, man. They've just been chilling.
Direction.
Yeah, they've just been waiting. They knew it would be their time. They've just been getting high. They lived through free love. I mean, come on, let's give these guys a little bit of grace.
I don't know if I
think they all voted for Reagan, though.
No. They're just like the generation that inherited like if your son was going to be born, you're like, oh, 600 years are going to be up. Like you're the one who's going to have to face this. And these dudes knew they'd probably still be alive to face this. One of them was like, I'm going to have a kid. I'm thinking about this more than anyone involved in the script probably ever did. I'm going to have a kid. He's probably going to be the warrior. You know what I mean? Because like 600 years or whatever it is coming up. You know, but like I was. Yeah,
but they already knew because both of the kids' mums died in childbirth.
So,
and that was the indicator.
So when that happened, they were like, "Okay, cool, it's time, it's coming." But they're also in Northern California in the 90s, which means they were probably around for the 60s and 70s. Hence, free love, weed, etc. I mean, Wicca was big here. I mean, sure, that's druid adjacent, right?
Speaking of weed, apparently, Chris Young, who plays Kenny, like to get high before shooting his scenes. That's what the director said that. He's like, can I say this? Am I gonna? He's like, no, I think it's legal. He used to toke up before shooting his scenes. I'm like, cool.
I think the statute of limitations on that is probably done now.
Plus, don't arrest him.
Yeah, California's legalized marijuana and stuff now anyway, so it's not like it's
I'm down.
It doesn't make a difference. Yeah, I mean, it maybe means that his performance was a little fucking sleepy. Although it's like he's not bad. Like the two young characters aren't bad. Like
he's our perfect 90s boy.
Here's the thing, like it's like comparing this film to stuff that we see like more recently. Like to me, like I don't have any issues with Warlock 2 because of some of how crap some of the stuff is. Because some of it's humorless that comes out now. And it's just like, it just takes itself far too fucking seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, this does not do that.
This is very fun. Let's get into our ratings. I wonder if we're going to make Tighe go first. I think we will. You can do both. So we're going to do visibility and context, scale from 0 to 5 in terms of the dick scene, which we talked about a long time ago. And then the film overall. What say you?
Visibility and context. I mean, it's context. I'm going to give it a 5. He's naked. He's just been born. It's the one time all of us are naked. So context, 5 out of 5. Right. Like everyone would be naked, you know? Visibility, I'm going to go with like a 3. It's brief. It's dark.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, I could have taken a lot more of it. So I'm going to give it a 3. But I mean, 5 out of 5 just on like a dick in general. Like, I mean, I know we're not supposed to rate that, but like, you know, it's,
I see what you mean.
Yeah. Like in just like 5 out of 5 for just like a dick. If you lined them up, I'd be like, that's a solid dick.
All right.
So yeah, that's my thing. Movie overall, again, if we're doing out of 5, like it's a solid 4.5. You know what I mean? Like, which is great for me. Cause to me, that's like an 8 or a 9. So it's like...
I was going to ask on your IMDb scale, what is it?
Yeah, because I'm an out of 10 guy. I would put it at like a solid 8.5. That's what I would say. Like, it's a solid 8.5. Which I would also rate the first Warlock. They are, again, they're both great movies in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan.
he's kind of taken all of the ratings that I was going to say anyway, just for kind of the sake of time.
Are you
So
guys
I
in
mean,
the docking station together?
potentially.
We are docking this recording.
For context, yeah, 5, obviously, he's just been born, obviously, duh. And then we only really see it in full light when it passes the light near the end of that shot as he's walking down the hallway. But also, it's incredibly terrifying that this naked man is just kind of risen out of a pile of like putrefied, like placenta and juices, and he's
Yeah,
he's
I mean, if you haven't seen it, I mean, he's real wet. I mean, he's still
Very wet.
beautiful and naked, but he's dripping with goo.
yeah, and she's like, "Oh my god, something just came out of me and it's just like ruptured my insides, and I'm bleeding everywhere." He wants to kiss me. He's calling me mummy. Like, it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
And obviously for the film itself, I kind of follow the same sentiment. I would probably say it's probably closer to a 4, but I have so much more enjoyment for the film because of how silly it is. I gave it a kind of solid 4.5, the same as I gave Warlock 2. I gave it a 4.5 too. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of them druids. Ken,
I'm basically in the same boat. I gave the overall visibility and context a 3.5 because, again, like everyone said, you don't see it for long, but at least it is quite clear, and it is incredibly menacing. To get, that's not how she thought her night was going to go.
no,
She thought she was going to get boned
Gremlin boy.
by gremlins. Instead,
Yeah.
she gives birth to Satan's only son. So it's a little bit of it's a change up in her evening. She doesn't get to have sex with Zach Galligan, which is a shame because he dressed up real nice and she made dinner, it looks like.
Oh, true. She's got like 3-inch heels on. I mean, like
She's ready to go.
Yeah, she was ready to go.
And so that's really sad. But it is very scary. That whole scene is incredible. But yeah, so 3.5. In terms of the film, you're probably right, Ryan. Maybe it's more of a 4, but it's a 4.5 because it is a very, very fun movie.
It's very fun.
We're all big Julian Sands fans down here, and and I think that it's a great shame.
Well,
that he's gone.
as a kind of major compliment to the man, like he took a character and he made it his own. Like, he really epitomized the Warlock character. Like, he really put the effort into making it something that has a significant cult following, was something that he will be remembered for the rest of time, for anyone ever watching these Warlock movies. Like, he really epitomized this role.
Yeah, if you speak to people that I remember when he had gone missing, I know friends of ours were like, Warlock is missing. Oh no.
Yeah.
And that really did kind of gave him that kind of cultural, like, everyone kind of knew him from that.
Yeah, I mean, I know him from renting the first Warlock VHS more times than I can remember.
Yeah.
I mean, dead serious. Like, might be one of those movies that I've seen the most just because I watched it so much in my youth. Like,
nice.
Yeah.
So, this is a great movie. I hope everyone... Ooh, yes.
I have one more thing I meant to bring up in the beginning. I'm so
course.
sorry. And it wasn't in my notes, but like, just want to talk about for a second that this movie was written by the great David Twohy. You want to talk about Dave Twohy for a moment?
We can.
Let's talk about Dave Twohy for just a hot second.
Go
because
ahead.
I fucking love David Twohy. We're talking about fan clubs.
Yes.
Me and my friend Eddie are the biggest two Twohy fanboys. Like,
Twohy heads.
dude, when Below came out, which is a great movie if you haven't seen Below, we walked around telling everybody who would listen to us for more than 5 seconds how fucking great Below is and that everyone should go see Below. So David Twohy, he wrote the first Warlock movie, so 2 and 3 have characters based on, but he also did many, 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 many other movies as a screenwriter and then a director, including
one of your wife's favorite films of all time.
Oh yeah,
The Fugitive.
yes, to do The Fugitive. I forget about that, but he wrote Pitch Black, and then he directed the rest of all of that whole Riddick series of films. Didn't he do that? What's that alien movie with what's his face in the 90s?
Gary Sinise?
Was it Gary Sinise?
What?
Yes.
Foster?
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, no, David Hu has a very storied career, a great genre screenwriter and director, and this was, I think, one of his first big hits. If I forget, you're looking at Letterboxd, you can tell me, but I think Warlock was like one of his breakouts. It was like his second or third movie. But
Yeah.
the great David Toohey was involved in this.
He
And I
also
feel like
wrote
I got to
Critters,
bring it up.
too.
Yeah,
Yes, he
Critters
did.
too.
Yeah. Which Space Bounty Hunters.
Oh, fuck. Terminal Velocity?
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, David
Yeah.
Toohey.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember, the minute we spoke about it, it was like, the Riddick stuff. And I always liked the Riddick stuff. I had a kind of soft spot for it. I always thought it was cool.
Me too. It's great, semi-cheesy genre of filmmaking. I love it.
Wow.
Although he has made a movie with Charlie Sheen. It was called The Arrival.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. It wasn't Sinise. It was The Arrival of Charlie Sheen. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, isn't he also in Terminal Velocity? Sheen?
I thought Terminal Velocity was... Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, so there you go.
What's the one I'm mixing up with? It's Passenger 57.
Always Bet on Black.
Yeah. Wesley Snipes. Slightly different.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you are. Yeah. The
Anyway.
more you know. He fucking wrote Waterworld.
Yeah, that's right, dude. He was like on that level of like Steven Sommers in like the 90s and like the 2000s, where he was just like, somehow studios were giving him money to make genre movies, like, and we all benefited from it.
Yeah. I'm getting confused here. All right, no, that's fine. That's okay. I thought Kevin Reynolds and Kevin Costner were the same person for a moment there.
No, that was, but he
No.
did. He did direct him twice.
He directed them twice. He did Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and he also did Waterworld. I thought Kevin Costner did Waterworld, but he didn't. He did Dances with Wolves.
No, after Prince of Thieves, they hated each other and they refused to even be in the same building.
Oh, wow.
And the producer of Waterworld got the script and Costner, and he wanted Reynolds to direct it, and he literally made them both show up, and they didn't know the other one was going to be there, and he trapped them in a hotel room for an entire day, and he was like, I want you to direct Waterworld. Kevin's going to star in it. Work your shit out. And they sat in a hotel room, and they ordered room service, and they worked their shit out. But
Wow.
enough to start the movie into pre-production, and then they hated each other during production, because Waterworld, of course, is one of the most famous, like, troubled productions.
Yeah.
And
Kevin's Gate, as they refer to it.
Yes, and then when it got to post, Costner had Reynolds fired because he didn't like the first cut, and Costner basically sat in the editing room as the director after the first director's cut was turned in.
Holy
Anyway.
shit.
Yes.
That was a big segue, but
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, Waterworld's a fucking blowy thing.
Having rewatched it explicitly, there's some good shit in there. There is some
I think
great shit
Waterworld
in
is
there.
problem-
pretty fun.
It's a flawed movie
is
for
very-
sure.
yeah.
It is flawed.
The
But
problem
there's
with
some
it
great
is
shit
you
in
can
there.
watch it now because, again, compared to things of its ilk that are coming out now, you're like, well, this is definitely better than Avatar because this isn't fucking, this isn't as indulgent as that fucking thing
This is the way of water.
Yeah, I guess so.
Also, I think it was that thing that, like, the press heard how bad it was,
Yeah.
and they just got all over it. And once it wasn't a financial success, they were like, "Yeah, this is terrible." It's not. It's like Mad Max on the water.
Yeah.
I think that same thing happened with, like, the Canyons. I think
This
the
does look
Canyons
like
was, like,
shit.
a better movie,
Yeah.
but the press made it seem like it was a fucking nightmare.
Well, Dennis
The
Hopper's in it
Canyons.
as well.
And he's
you know.
so good. I mean, he's
he's really
he's
good.
all the way at 11. He's just
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, whatever, man.
Are
Are we talking about Kevin still?
No.
Kevin who?
Costner.
Waterworld, yes.
Waterworld, yes.
I'll talk about Waterworld for a long time. We got to wrap this up because I'll talk about Waterworld for like 2 hours.
This does look like shit, So,
Well,
yeah.
on our spin-off podcast,
We have like 4
My
spin-offs
Two
tonight.
Kevins,
Yeah, there's too many
Kevin.
spin-offs.
talk about
There's too much. There's too
Waterworld.
much. The minute I hear spin-off, I think, oh god, extra work, and I'm like, yeah.
Cool. So this was incredibly fun. We officially, depending on the edit, have gone over the length of this actual film talking about it. But that's okay because Warlock, the Armageddon, is incredible. You're welcome, everybody. Thank you, Tighe, for coming over and talking about this perfect film.
I will talk about a Warlock movie forever, either of them. And I love that all of us basically shoehorned some of our best Warlock 1 anecdotes or things we wanted to talk
Redford
about.
him in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were just kind of like, this is an excuse to talk about Richard E. Grant. Like, great. Lovely.
Oh.
Yeah. So yes,
I want to
thank
make an
you
extra
for.
podcast about Withnull and I.
Let's do it.
well.
But thank you for having me. Yes, I had a nice time.
That'd be a great Halloween costume. Just put on a bunch of shag carpet and pick up a weather vane and just go around with a lot of brogue in your voice.
I like when they're in the airplane, and she kind of puts her.
Plane. Sorry.
Anyone that you have to say it in your accent, like anyone that attempts to fly is said to be a witch.
Yeah.
Oh, anyone that attempts to fly is said to be a witch. You see those steel carriers, they go in the air.
She goes to like lean
We
her
were not
head on
destined
him
to go into the air.
on his like furry coat, and
Yeah.
then she smells it, and then kind of leans back over. I'm like, I bet he smells like shit.
Yeah, he smells fucking terrible. Dude,
Yeah.
I love the Warlock in the cargo hold, firing shit up and doing magic, while the guy's like expired cream is up in like business class.
He's the witchery is afoot.
I know, it's like at 30,000 feet, the witchery is afoot. I love it.
Say it, Ryan. Say it.
The witchery is afoot.
Hooray! Thank you guys so much for being here today, and thanks everyone for listening. And coming to you from the basement of Travis's bookstore, we have had Ty. I have been Laura. We've had Ryan.
It's a world of magic, son.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
I'm getting that on a fucking t-shirt. That's an awesome line of dialogue.
Wait, what?
It's a world of magic, son.
Ah.